So, all right. So I guess that we are in. Hi. Welcome to Wednesday. In Black on the Block. And my guest is Joaquin Thompson Sr. And this is different from me, Joaquin, this technology. So hopefully we'll get some comments and we'll know that what we're doing is working, because otherwise this looks totally different from anything that I'm used to seeing. But how are you today?
Well, I'm doing excellent. How you doing?
Listen, I'm doing all right. We are still social distancing. We are trying to figure this thing out, our new normal, and that's just what it is. And so I appreciate you coming on to be my very, very first guest for Black Wisdom Wednesday, because when I started Black on the Block, it really was about how do we turn green black, and how do we learn to spend our economic power so that we can create wealth. And so, of course, when I thought about starting this Wisdom Wednesday podcast, you were one of the first people I thought about, because I said, Joaquin has some knowledge that he needs to share for the people. Because this is about not just what you doing, but how do you teach us about what it is you're doing. So I listen. Have known you for a while, but I got your bio, so I want to read your bio so the people know who we're dealing with here. Joaquin Thompson Sr. is an author, speaker, educator, and entrepreneur. Over the last 20 years, Joaquin has been researching the subject of personal finance. His area of expertise is teaching the fundamentals of personal finance. Joaquin uses a unique combination of knowledge, experience, and passion to share proven strategies that will improve his audience's financial well-being. He is the author of My College Finance, a guide to understanding personal finance for students and parents. He is the founder of the American Financial Literacy Association, a nonprofit charity that was created to improve financial literacy among Americans. In February 2017, he launched a weekly internet show entitled The Daily Bread Radio Show. The show's motto is to educate, motivate, and elevate listeners to a life of financial freedom and peace of mind. His signature infectious laugh, coupled with a genuine desire to uplift his audience, makes the Daily Bread Show an incredibly valuable program. He encourages his audience to become strong advocates of reading and research in order to improve their financial acumen. Joaquin is a proud graduate of Howard University School of Nursing and earned his Master's of Business Administration from Florida Institute of Technology. He is also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And because he is my friend, I'm going to take a personal privilege and say, I'm going to need you to add on there about your rock and your pebbles.
Oh man, I look, married to an outstanding young lady. We still honeymooning, 30 years plus, and that's my wife Tanya. Have 3 adult children, Ashley, Joaquin Jr., and my youngest daughter is Nia. And then I have 2 grandchildren, Kobe and Marley. And that's it for the rock
and the pebbles
and the little pebblets.
Right. Yeah, listen, that's a lot.
Everybody.
All right, so let's jump into this. And for those of you who are, joining for the first time, Black on the Block was created out of my desire to, again, turn green black. And it's something that God dropped in my spirit and gave me these 5 principles of education, exposure, empowerment, entrepreneurship, and economics. And I said the 6th E will be endorsement, because just because I'm posting about your black business inside of Black on the Block does not mean that Dr. Adrienne has endorsed you. That part is about how you do what you do. And so, I need everybody to be clear about that. I'm all about black businesses, but I'm also about accountability. And so that's the part that we have to get to. So that's a little bit about Black on the Block. So Joaquin, tell us about who you are and how you're becoming who you are.
Okay, so we're gonna be fully transparent, because I know that
absolutely
audience is that's how they like it. They like it raw. They like it,
honest.
Honest. The honest way that I evolved into who I am today is just making a tremendous number of financial mistakes. And blame is the easiest way to get out of something. If you have an issue, it's easy to blame someone or something, but not to blame. But one of the things that I wanted to do was I just got to a point in my life where I was like, just questioning, like, how did I get here? House, cars, credit cards, but nobody never taught me that. As you mentioned, went to Howard University, graduated from there with a couple of different degrees, went to grad school. Nobody taught me about personal finance. So while everybody was stressing all of these different classes that I would never, ever use again, like genetics and paleontology and all of this other stuff that's in your curriculum, I was like, man, nobody never taught me about credit. And I'm gonna use credit the rest of my life. Nobody never taught me about savings, budgets, income, the difference between income and expenses. So I just got on a quest where I was like, I'm just gonna start to educate myself, really self-educate myself about the importance of financial literacy. So I started reading, different publications, Kiplinger, Money Magazine, anything that I could get my hands on, Susie Orman's books, Dave Ramsey's books. And then I really pivoted and started getting into some personal finance from a Black perspective, like Kelvin Boston, and brothers like that. So that way, and just to learn from a Black perspective, what things impacted us and things that we need to do. So from there, as I started getting more and more educated about it, my mission was just to let as many people know as possible, because I think, our counterparts got a 401-year head start.
Yes.
And when you get a 400-year head start, I don't care how fast you are, it's just hard. So you have to start thinking exponentially in order to catch up. So
right.
What I do, I just do just what the motto says: educate, motivate, elevate.
And Joaquin, it's interesting that you talk about the mistakes, because, as a psychotherapist, one of the things that I am constantly dealing with is reminding people that it's not where you came from and what happened to you. It's what you decide to do moving forward. And so for a lot of us, we are the product of our parents, the baby boomers, who wanted us to be better than they were. And so as a result of that, even the information that they were given to us, it was based on all the knowledge that they had. So, I had a conversation with my father, and my dad, a couple of Father's Days ago. And I said to him, this was a couple of years ago, not this recently Father's Day, but I said, you raised me to go and work for other people, but I was raised by an entrepreneur. You never worked for anybody else, but you raised me to go to college, go get a good job, go get somebody's retirement so that you can be comfortable. And I said, that's not what I saw you do. And what did I end up developing into but an entrepreneur, which is what I actually saw. And his response was, well, I guess I'm just the worst father in the world. And I said, no, I'm only saying that to say we give information based on who we are. And when we know to do something different, hopefully we do something different, because, what my father didn't know is that when I made the decision to leave law school, because that was his dream, not my dream, I was as stubborn as he is. And so instead of going to him and saying, are you going to help me with my master's degree like you were willing to pay for law school, I was too stubborn to do that. So I went and took out student loans. And so as a result of, me not wanting to have those conversations, financially, I'm in a situation with them student loans where I was just glad to know I couldn't pass them on to my children, because I'm like, when I die, they die. And that's just what it is.
We're going to take them with us. But you said some key things in that story that really I would say is really the essence of financial literacy. And the first one was your father was telling you and guiding you to go in one direction, but he was showing you something different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the disconnect in our community is. What happens when that's all that a child sees growing up is his mother, his father just going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home. They see them struggling. They see the bills all around. They see the lights on. They see the lights off. So they experience that as opposed to having exposure.
Right.
So your father already being a successful entrepreneur, then he was able to expose you on his journey, even though he said, hey, go to school, get a degree, get you a good job. You were able to see how the moves that he was making. And that's what really impresses you more than what somebody is saying. So I'm saying that to say, from a financial literacy standpoint, if you've never been exposed to money, which a lot of people in our community, they really haven't been exposed to money, how money works, how credit works, how deals work when you need credit or you need money or you need both. If you haven't been exposed to that, and then when you're thrust into that arena, it's hard for you to thrive because this is your first time and you may be 53. Like this may be your first deal. Like you've never done a deal more than $10,000.
Right.
15. Some people have done 100 million, but if you've never been exposed to that, then you don't know how to maneuver in that space. So what I try to do without getting super high, that's why I really stress the fundamentals, because a lot of times when I'm working with different clients from a personal finance standpoint, the first thing I always like to talk about is who they are.
Right.
But most times when people struggling with money, it's not that they struggle with money. They're really struggling with something else. And then it manifests into problems with money. Right. And it just exacerbates with that. But most people, they really don't know why they do what they do. And then what I try to do is peel the onion back from that standpoint first, before we start talking about the credit, the budget, the savings. Is like, I want to find out about the person. Right. Because that tells me a lot about how you're going to manage things once you get there.
Right. Right. And Joaquin, I had something that happened to me yesterday, and I'm very transparent. People know I'm like an open book. And so, because I say, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody, because I'm just not that special. But, have gotten to this point where I am intentional about my credit and paying attention and all this. My credit score fell 65 points in one day. And I said, what the hell? What? Is that what that started off my day yesterday, and I was like, okay, really? And from there, the dominoes just kept falling. And I said, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to step back from this because I got 9 clients tomorrow. I'm going to deal with this on Thursday, because I didn't even have the energy to go and find out what happened, because that happened to me one other time. And, one of my children that I have a Parent Plus loan with was doing the due diligence that they thought they needed to do. And so it was a mix up between a private loan and another loan. And so where that child thought that they had applied for whatever it is they thought they had applied for to get into some sort of program, they didn't realize this other loan, which was a private loan, was still hanging out here. And so that's what hit my credit the first time. So this time, I don't know what it was. And so I did make the call and say, now listen, have you been handling your business? And the response I got was absolutely, because I think I was so crazy.
Don't blame me. It ain't me.
Listen, I said that first time I went off like, really? I said some of them words. And so this time, I don't know what it is, Joaquin. And I said, but I started to think about it. And I said, when it comes to, as you said, our counterparts are 400 plus years ahead of us.
Yep.
And so it's, how do you even recover from something like that in terms of wanting to create generational wealth when you're talking about people that have had generational wealth for hundreds of years, and now here we are, and we still running out. And listen, that vehicle I'm riding in, when coronavirus hit, I said, damn, why I go get that off? I'm like, can y'all take it back? Cause y'all can have it. I can bring it right on down the street.
Y'all can have that.
Yeah, because I'm like, you think that, and I think that this is what happens to a lot of us. We think we're stable. We think we're in a good place financially. And really, we are only one incident away from a disaster.
Adrienne, you must have scripted the show, because
No.
everything that you're touching on is really, that's the basis. Again, that's the foundation of financial literacy. So let's start at the top, the 65 points, right? The reason that's important is, first of all, you're diligent enough to even notice that it happened. Many people, they don't even check their credit. Most people, and you'll be surprised, a lot of times people only check their credit when they are ready to apply for something. Mm-hmm. They don't check when they're ready to apply. They go to apply, and then they like, man, I hope I get approved. But they have no idea like where their credit is, what was their, their last score, what kind of range they're in, any of that. Because I also do mortgages. And one of the things that's always really, I guess you would say, enlightening to me is that somebody's getting ready to make a $250,000 purchase or $275,000 purchase, and they have no idea. When I ask them, like, well, where would you estimate your credit to be? And they're like, I don't know. Like, and then I say, well, when's the last time you checked your credit? And they were like, maybe, I don't know, maybe like a year, 2 years ago. And I'm like, but you just applied for a mortgage. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that to say, for you to be diligent enough to even notice or get an alert or set an alert with something like that happens with you, bam, 65 points. Once you get over the initial shock,
I'm still trying. I'm still working on that shock factor. I'm still there. I'm like,
that ain't no problem if you go from, look, you just went from like an 800 to like a 7. But the good thing is this, and this is something that I always teach. Even though you lost them 65 points, the bigger lesson in it is why and what do you need to do to get back. See, most people come to me, they want to get credit repair. They want to get the 700 score right away, the 750, the 800. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But let me explain it to you this way. If you've never managed a large sum of money, if I gave you a large sum of money, it's going to go away.
What you going to do?
If you haven't managed a large sum of money. And with credit, it's the same thing, because what most people don't understand is if you don't have access to something, then you really don't need discipline, right? It's like anything, drugs, sex, money, credit. If you don't have access, then yeah, you can do certain things. But if you have access to everything, when you start getting into 700, 750, it ain't pretty. You can do pretty much whatever you want to do. The new car, the new house, you can get big lines of credit. So if you go out and get a line of credit for $50,000 and you've never managed a large sum of money, right, you don't know what you're going to do.
Right.
And that's where most people get in trouble. So what I try to teach people is, from a mindset standpoint, if you've never had $5,000 in cash in your hand, or we need to get to that. And then most people, they think it's like ludicrous in a sense, like, well, why would you, like, 5,000 is not a lot, but the data, like, I'm a data guy. I don't, people talk, I read data, research.
Right.
But the data says that somewhere between 75 and 80% of the people in the US has less than $1,000 in savings. Right? So if 70%, just say 75%, if 75% of the people have less than $1,000, that means they don't have access to 5,000.
Right.
So I always try to build, like, let's get you $1,000 first.
Right.
Because the hardest thing to do is to get a person to save $1,000 when they've never saved $1,000 before. Like, I've had people, like one of my clients recently, 43 years old. He said, I've never had $1,000 in savings. And so with me getting him to 1,000, because what I was trying to teach him was that if you're saying you want to be debt-free, financial free, wealthy, generational wealth, but you don't have $1,000, you don't have access to $1,000. It's kind of hard to jump to 10,000 because you don't know what you're gonna do with 10,000.
Right.
So that's why I always start with just the basics, and it all goes back to your mindset and your spirit. It has a lot to do with your spirit too.
So, what is it that you would say to people in terms of what is the most important thing first? If you had to name your top 3 things in terms of how to get to a place of financial security or stability, where is it that they start?
Ooh, that's a good one. For me, these are my top 3. For me, I would say the first thing you need to do, and this may sound simple, but it's effective. The first thing that you got to do is make a decision that this is what you want to do. In your mind. In your mind, you got to say, you know what? I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I got to go through. I don't care what I got to sacrifice. I'm ready to make a financial change. Like this is where I'm ready to go. Because if you never get to a point where you make that decision or draw that line in the sand, then what you're going to have is you're going to have a consistent start and stop. You're just going to be going forward, coming back. And it goes back to what I was just talking about. So the second step, after you've decided this is what you want to do, the second step was you have to set a goal, like set a tangible financial goal, like just something small, $1,000. If you don't have $1,000 right now, even with the COVID pandemic, all of this, if you don't have access to $1,000, then make that your goal. And if you have access to 1,000, you say, well, that ain't okay. Do you have access to 5,000? Because if you think about how the pandemic went down, right? It wasn't a whole lot of time. Right? It was like we came into 2020 in January, everything was good. February hit, you was like,
got a Super Bowl in, and that was it.
Super Bowl in. I'm all out of San Francisco. Some crazy people. They wearing masks and stuff on the press.
Right.
And then boom, March.
Y'all went to your anniversary.
Yeah, it was like everything went down so fast. But the point I'm making is this: if you don't have 1,000 in savings, right, or if you don't have 5,000 in savings, when something goes down that quick, it takes you down. It's nothing you can do.
Right.
So the first 2, mind first, set a tangible goal, and then the third thing I would say is you got to be willing to, and you have to address credit. So I'm gonna put credit in that third, because some people's like, it ain't about credit. Credit is just tied to debt. The thing I'm gonna tell you about credit is this: when you have money and you have credit, you can get pretty much anything that you need to get done.
Right.
You can get it done, right? You can really get it done. And when we start talking about generationally, we have to be better prepared so that way when our kids and our grandkids, because now our kids are adults. So just like your kids, my kids, they the same age. So when they at that age, when we were just starting along this path about buying a car, I want to buy a house, I want to rent, I want to, but I'm like, if we're not in a position to teach, right? It's just like a language. If you're not in a position to teach a language to your child, which is financial literacy, then they doomed to repeat the same stuff that you did, the same traps that I did. And not to put my daughter on blast, but again, just being fully transparent. I mean, she's a young adult, and we have conversations many times about making sound financial decisions. You can buy a car, right? Even though you can afford it, you can do it. But why buy a car when you can buy land?
Right.
Because if you buy land, you can build on the land and then have whatever you built on the land pay you and then buy the car. Right. Right. But it's like, I get it. Nah, I really want this car though. Right. So it's that constant struggle. So, for me, if somebody was to ask me, I would say, get your mind right. It's real simple. Get your mind right, set a tangible goal, and then figure out credit-wise where you need to be at. Everybody their goal should be minimum 700 plus.
So So when it comes to setting tangible goals, because a lot of times, and I think I did something on this like at the beginning of the year, and I talked about the reason why a lot of times we are not successful is because we don't write down goals and we don't have a plan for how to get there. And so, you know, when you talk about financial goals, a lot of times what you hear people saying is that, you know, I don't have any extra money. I don't have, you know, and it's, you can find some extra money. It's what are you willing to sacrifice in order to find it? What are you willing to give up so that you can find this extra money?
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Right.
Yeah, get your mind right.
Get your mind right, because just what, and I have clients come to me. That's the first thing they say. It's like, but I don't have no money. I don't have no money to save. I said, okay. So let's do this. The first exercise that I do with every client is this. After we talk, I learn a little bit about them. I have this tool that I give them. It's just an interactive budget sheet. Now, most people either work for somebody or they're entrepreneurs, right? It's either or. Either you're an entrepreneur or you work for somebody. Okay, cool. Or both, right? Or both. But here's the thing. The point I'm making is this. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for someone, right? 9 times out of 10, they have a annual budget. If you work at wherever, Zaxby's, or if you work at, you know, Exxon, a Fortune 500 company, they already got their 2021 budget. Right. They know how many people they want to hire. They know how many people. They know how much payroll. They know what they want to invest in. All of that stuff is already done. Right. With individuals, most times we just work within our money, meaning when we get paid, that's when we start to make financial decisions. Oh, I'll get paid on Friday. So on Friday, I'm gonna pay the cable, I'm gonna pay my car note. No, you need to have a budget. You need to have an annual budget. So what I do with my clients is give them this interactive budget, and you will be amazed when somebody sits down for the first time and just list out all of their income, and then list out all of their expenditures. And then at the very bottom, the way I have it calculated, it's going to tell you whether you have a surplus or a deficit. That's just an income statement. That's just business. That's business school 101. So if you operating in a deficit, when companies started operating a deficit because of the pandemic, what do? Start laying people off.
Down, right.
Yeah. If you lay people off, that's the quickest way to get rid of some expense. They know if I can get rid of, you know, staff, right, then I know I can survive this. So it's the same thing in our lives. We need to be able to create a budget, because a budget is going to tell you where your money is supposed to go, and then it's going to give you some insight to where your money is going. Right. So, you know, a lot of times people do have money that they could save, but they have it misaligned in their mindset, meaning they get paid, they start paying bills. When you get paid, the first thing that you should do is pay yourself.
Pay yourself, right.
That should be like.
So what does that look like, Joaquin? What do you think?
Oh man, it looks like.
Is it a percentage? Is it you know, what is that? What does that look like? Because we gonna put 10%. So what we do ourselves.
Look, I'm gonna tell you like I tell my clients. Is nobody on this planet more important than you? Nobody. Is there anybody that you would put in front of you? Okay, maybe your kids. Okay, maybe my grandkids. But outside of that, why? And again, this goes back to the psychology of this, right? Why would you work 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, you know, spend time away from your family, sacrifice going to different things? Why would you do all of that? And at the end of that, take all of that money and give it away to somebody. Right. And you give yourself nothing. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. So what you have to start doing is get your mind right. And then when you say percentages, or is it a certain amount? My thing is this: if you don't have nothing, right, just start with something. Right. Anytime you start with something. And I have this concept: 1 is always more than 0. Right. So a lot of times with my clients, they be like, well, I don't have $100. I don't have 10%. I'm like, okay, can you do 1%? Because what'll happen is this, and this is something, another story that I always use with my clients. Say you work for somebody. Like you go into work tomorrow and they say, hey, look, this pandemic been going down and we've been having to make some hard choices. In your mind, psychologically, the first thing you're going to think is what? I'm about to get laid off. Right? Oh, man, because now you're thinking like, oh, shoot, now it's coming. Say, hey, we had to make some hard decisions. We looked at our budget. It was no way for us to anticipate COVID-19 is really, really had a hard, our finances. And so what we decided to do is, and you wait on the punchline, they're gonna say, we decided that we're gonna decrease your salary by $50 a pay period. What would you do? You'd be like, oh man, okay, all right. Ooh, okay.
Look, because you happy you still in the place.
You still in the game, right? So I'm saying, why do we have to wait for somebody else to do that to us when we can do it to ourselves? I said, give yourself a $50 every pay period. Give yourself a $50 decrease in pay.
Right.
Pay yourself. Just give yourself $50.
Right.
$25.
Right.
But what you'll find is as you start putting away money before you get it, putting away money, over time, you'll look over there, you'll look over in that bucket and be like, man, I got $1,000.
Right.
Right. And then next time you look at it, man, I got $2,000. If you keep your mind right, because when money starts to accumulate, what do? We want to spend it. But that ain't hard. That's not a principle. So you start what you want to, but you got to go.
You got to start somewhere though.
Right. And don't give yourself no excuses like all this foolishness. I don't make enough. I ain't have enough. Yes, you do. Because I've seen you, Papa Do's. I've seen you over at the goddamn Hawks game. I've seen you on social media. You flossing with some new shoes. And nah, bro. Nobody ain't more important than you.
Right.
And once you get that in your mind and you start to think about it, you're like, nah, bro, ain't nobody gonna have more money than me. If they gonna pimp me, I might as well pimp myself.
Might as well pimp yourself. I can't think of the name of this app that I use. Let me see what it's called. Digit. So a few years ago, somebody told me about Digit, and I put it on there, and you set it and forget it, and so literally it takes out money based on what I got in there and this, that, and the other. And most of the time I don't even think about it. And then one day I got an alert. And it told me how much I had in there. And I said, damn, because one thing about it, it's not taking out money from you. When you put money in a savings account, for example, or a checking account, if you don't have a certain amount in there, they're getting their fees every month. And I'm like, this is an app that I downloaded, and all I did was link it to my account. And this thing is over here, really building savings, and I don't even think about it. I looked in it the other day and I was like, man, and I have no intentions of touching it because it's over there doing what it does. And so I said, and it'll throw me these little things and say, it's a rainy day fund, and we even gave you a bonus and this, that, and that. But, to your point, when we don't make the sacrifices necessary to make sure that we are a part of our financial structure, then we're going to get left out. And so, we'll give to the church, give 10% to the church and be sitting up praying, and your bank account is empty. Well, you might need to pack your lunch and stop going out and eating lunch out so that you can give some of that to yourself. Because God, God didn't say just pray to me and count on me to do it. He said you got to do your part too.
He said prayer without works is what?
Dead. It's dead. Dead on arrival.
Yeah, I'm not even a minister. I know that.
And look, we ain't even biblical scholars, but we know a little bit.
I know that. But it's just, it's like, it's all like when you said, what are the top 3 things? It's all in your head.
Yeah.
It's all in your head. Because if somebody came to you and said, hey, you know what? If you don't do this, I'm going to do it for you.
Right.
Guess what we would do? We would do it.
Right.
But it's unfortunate that we don't have the the independent mindset to do something that's going to benefit us and our kids and our kids without letting somebody else, what I call do it to us, so.
And this generation is challenging. These Zers and millennials, to me, they're coming up in a difficult time. I think more difficult than we had it because we didn't have social media. We didn't have, the stuff we saw on television. We're that generation where BET and MTV was just coming on the scene. Yep. And, so we thought it was fly to see somebody in some Adidas and some Filas and some, and then that became our goal. These kids are having to watch people who riding around in Bentleys and, who's 16 years old. And, it's on some other stuff. And it's like, then they think they can just run out and go do that. And they don't even realize that a lot of times what you see on reality TV, these people aren't even on it. People are giving them this stuff or lending them this stuff because they want their stuff out there. That's free advertising for them. So it's a whole shift in how do we educate these millennials and Zers, because if we don't get their minds right, then we're going to be really in trouble.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's a lot of truth in that, what you just shared, and they have a lot of stimuli and a lot of things coming in. But the one thing I can say about them is a lot of that generation, they're independent thinkers. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it hard, because they think now they're like, oh, you old. That's the way they used to do it.
Right.
But one thing people understand better than anything else is lack.
Yes.
Right. Because those same kids, once they done turn off their social media and they get back to the reality of like, bro, your rent due.
Right.
You don't have it. Right. So, I mean, what you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah, mom and dad ain't gonna, we ain't gonna be able to breastfeed you forever. So what you gonna do? So, I don't give them a pass from that standpoint. I just tell them, I give it to them straight. I'm like, man, I mean, using that language, I'm like, why would you, you're gonna have to put yourself in position where you can get to a point where working is cool and you can do what you want to do, but you want to be able to make some of your own decisions.
Right.
And without financial literacy, I tell people all the time, without financial literacy, without understanding economics, and this pandemic has shown, this pandemic has really exacerbated all of the stuff that is important about financial literacy, because, case in point, it came on quick. If you don't have reserves, you out. Right? You hear about all these households, people losing jobs, this, that, and other. So if you don't have no reserves, you out immediately. But if you got a little bit of money, that might carry you for a month or two to something in. So the reserve thing, the opportunities. Adrienne, do you know how much money people have made since the pandemic started?
Listen.
I mean, it's people, when you want to buy Delta at like 15, when Delta hit $15 and they went out and bought 100,000 shares of Delta, or you bought $10,000 worth of Delta's coming back.
Right.
Delta's coming. And I'm telling you not to brag, but we want to be fully transparent. Some of the stuff that I did on I guess you would say on a moderate scale, as soon as I saw that happen, and me and some friends, we was talking about this recently, as soon as something like that happened, again, it's being exposed enough to say, you know what? Delta's at 15. Carnival's at 7, and they was at 63. So why wouldn't I go on and get 1,000 shares of Carnival?
Right.
Carnival right now is at 16. So you just doubled up while everybody's screaming, oh my God. If you put in 10, now you got 20.
But
now the people that we talk about, the rich, they don't put in $1 million. They put in $1 million, and in less than 90 days, they got 2 million.
Yeah.
So it's things like that where when we start talking to young people and you telling them about money, I'm like, nah, man, I don't care what age you are. If you don't understand this, all that other stuff, that's
it matter. Yeah,
it don't matter. It don't matter.
So let me ask you a question, Joaquin. With all of this stimulus money, stimulus money, the EIDL loans, the PPPs, and all this kind of stuff. You know, some people got their money and they balling out. That's what they did with it.
Pretty much.
Didn't understand that this was an opportunity. We've been hollering about reparations for a long time. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, y'all, this might be as close as we start to get to reparations, because even in terms of businesses, you know, and I'm going to ask you what your opinion is of this. You know, if you have a business, I'm talking about a legitimate business, whether it's where you want it to be or whatever, there is still $1 billion out there in money that has a 3% loan that they're going to give you 30 years to pay for. And so for some people who don't have anything in reserve, I'm like, why not go apply and let them give you that $22,500? And at $71 a month for a payback, you pay that jump back. If you want to pay it off quicker, you pay it off quicker. But you put that money in an account. Now you got more money in the bank than you've ever had.
There you go. You don't need me. You just, I mean, yes to your, I mean, everybody should be applying. Because I had some people to say, oh, I know I won't get there. I'm like, it don't matter. You need to apply so that way you see what you do get, because they legitimately are giving out money.
They give it out.
They legitimately giving it out. So I'll tell people, apply for everything that you feel, you know, that you can apply for.
Right.
And then see what happens, because the scenario that you just gave, I've heard some people, they got 22,000. You know, somebody else posted something, they had like 53,000. And like you said,
100,000,
100,000, $1 million, whatever. But
oh damn, somebody got $1 million. Look, let me go back.
I ain't gonna go into your president. I ain't gonna put your president's business out there, but I just last night on CNN where it was like some of them cats got 5 million, 10. So we're gonna stay on the low end. Say you got 23, just like what you just said. You could take that money, again, going back to the scenario I just talked about, but you gotta be around people who are knowledgeable enough, again, to know what to do with that.
Right.
Because 22,000 will go away just as fast as 1,200.
That's right.
Right. So if you get your 22,000 and you're around people like, man, you got, oh yeah, I got 22,000. What? Man, what you need to do is listen. Now you listening to people that don't have a track record of managing money.
Right.
Now you done bought this, that. But you could take that money, you could take that 22,000 and grow it. You can grow it to the point where you pay them their money back and you still got money. It's free.
Feel good, right?
So that's the long answer to your question. Like, yeah, definitely apply for everything that's out there. Make sure that your business, and it goes back to something I was talking about last week on my show, which is make sure that your business, that you're not just doing business, but your business is legitimized. You know, business license, Secretary of State, you file taxes, all of that. Because if you don't do all of that, then you don't even have access.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. They playing the game. They playing it well. They like, hey, I'll file. You know, even if you owe, file. Because if you don't file, that's you just missing out.
Right.
You know, so I tell people like, yeah, apply for everything that you can get your hands on.
Right. So tell people about the services that you offer and how they can find you and utilize your services and all of that.
Okay. We'll start at the top. The best way to reach out to me is you can call. The business number is 470-322-5122. 470-322-5122. You can call me. You can text. If you're more internet based, or you say, hey, I want to send you something, you know, direct message, you can go to Joaquin, JOAQUIN Thompson, THOMPSONSR.com. Joaquin Thompson Sr.com. We got a wealth of information out there. We have a quick, what we call a quick identity, I guess you would say, page where you could just put in your name, email, add your little, you know, whatever question that you may have. You can reach out there. You can email me, Joaquin Thompson Sr. at yahoo.com. You can reach me there. social media, Facebook. The best way to reach me on Facebook is the Daily Bread Radio Show. Daily Bread Radio Show, that's my baby. Tomorrow will be 162 episodes. We do it every week, 8 to 9 on Thursdays. So you can, inbox me or instant message me on Facebook as well. But the thing I'll say is I'll go back to the beginning of the show. Just make sure before you reach out to me that you're ready to get your mind right. Because I don't, it ain't free. Everything in life ain't free.
That's right.
But, things that's good for you, you should be willing to invest in yourself. So that's the way that I look at it, is be willing to invest in yourself. And anything that I teach you is something that you're going to be able to take and use it over and over and over and over and over for the rest of your life. So if you're really ready to get your mind right, you can reach out to me. And the other plug I would say to Adrienne is I don't talk about, teach, or even discuss anything that I haven't done
or don't do
or know about. So I'm not going to come to you with some, hey, you should trade options. I don't do options. That ain't my, I know people who do. Options not my thing. I do equities. I invest in real estate. I buy and sell houses. I do mortgages. So whatever I tell you is going to be from that frame of reference. It's not going to be some, pie in the sky. You can get this done right away, because it's going to be real. It's going to be just like working out with a real trainer where it's like, nah, this is real. And you got to show me. So I ain't the type of, coach where you just tell me like, yeah, I got $1,000. Like, I need to see your account statement.
Right.
So,
and you like the work that I do as a therapist, I'm like, all of it starts with this. And so if you're not ready to change the way that you think, you can't change anything about your behavior. No. And so if you really want to make a change, you really want to be somebody different, you really want to make some improvements in your life, then it has to start with not staying in that place of all the things that I've ever done wrong, but now I'm ready to do something different. And so I always tell people, you got to stay in your lane. And so financial planning and this, that, and the other, that ain't my lane, but that's your lane. So I'm going to be calling you because that 65-point drop shook me. And I'm upset because Sugar Pop was about to get a swing set. And I'm like, oh, girl, we might have to wait a minute because that wasn't supposed to happen. And apparently,
it's a beautiful thing. And people ask me, the difference. I'm like, man, I remember going, I would sleep so light because I was, thinking somebody was going to repo my car or, somebody was, coming to get something. I was like, you go from that to just like, when I sleep now, I'd be so,
well, you be good.
I'd be so sleep where it's like, man, they could probably come in and take everything. But I sleep, I say I sleep like a baby and eat like a king,
right.
That's just my motto. Sleep like a baby, eat like a king, because so many people are just stressed out. I mean, they just really, and I feel bad about it. And again, people keep saying, man, why, like, you can't help everybody. I'm like, I know, but I'm going to help as many people as I can because this is my ministry. So anybody that need help, don't use that excuse. I don't have no money. I'm like, nah, we'll figure it out.
Right.
If that's what's stopping you, don't worry about that. Reach out to me. Like I said, you have all of my information. I just gave y'all the phone number. If anybody sees this on Facebook Live or any of my shows, just, the first step is get your mind right first, but then just reach out to me and I'll make sure that you're going to be a whole lot better than you were when you came to me.
Yeah. And I wanted you to be on here because I know of some of the stuff that you're doing. And, like you said, you taught yourself this. You got into some books, and I've known you for a long time. I didn't necessarily know that this was all the stuff that you had going on, but I think that, as you said, this is your ministry.
Yeah.
God birthed this in you for a reason. And so, as Black people, we got to get away from thinking that we're not supposed to capitalize on our talents. Yes, we are.
Yes.
What we're not supposed to do is to take advantage of people, but you are where you are for a reason. And so, Black folk, I need y'all to have your minds right before you contact it. I brought them on here because I trust them.
I mean, Adrienne,
don't look and talk about I need the discount and the hookup and the this.
Because one thing that I've learned, Adrienne, is this, and this was a Les Brown quote that the first time I heard it, it literally like, man, it knocked me on the floor. And Les Brown has a quote. He said, we beg for what we want. No, we buy what we want and we beg for what we need.
Right.
We buy what we want and we beg for what we need. So when I heard that, I was like, dang. And it's so true, because if, you could be saying, man, I ain't got no money. Somebody be like, man, Jay-Z and Beyonce come. What?
Listen, you gonna find money for the ticket, an outfit to go out there.
Outfit, you got to go to dinner, you got to get nails, hair. So you done spent $1,500 to watch somebody that don't need another $1,500 right now. Jay-Z and Beyonce, they pretty good, they straight. So why not take that $1,500 and put it on you?
Listen,
like, just bet it on you.
And look, and you and I are both Falcon season ticket holders. And I emailed my rep today and I said, you might call me so we can just have a discussion, because I ain't sent them a penny. I said, let me tell you something.
They ain't even going.
I'm sitting good, and I'm like, NFL.
Hey,
I said,
pretty good right now. I need to make sure I can get somebody giving me that kind of money annually. I said annually.
So, because we spend long dollars. We spend long dollars in there to go get us a $2 hot dog. Shit. Look, and our team ain't winning. Hey, I love the Falcons. I'm die hard, but this pandemic.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody can be more important than you, though.
This pandemic, though, made us pause, and it made us stop to say, what's really important? At the end of the day, what is really valuable? And so we ain't been able to go to a concert, a sporting event. So all of that money, where is it going? And so to your point, when you talk about invest in yourself, I don't want to hear, I don't have it, because yes, you do. Because you look, you at the grocery store. Now we done spent some money at the grocery store. We spending more money on groceries than ever before. That's why we need to get out there and grow a garden.
You need to grow. Hey, look, I ain't gonna get up and show you, but I did that too. Just again from a mind perspective.
Yeah,
I went and planted some seeds, and I just want to, and just to show you how your mind works. Now, you do know if you plant a seed, something will grow, right?
Absolutely.
But we don't believe that, though.
Listen.
So it's so amazing. Like, I planted some seeds in some dirt and watered them. And maybe like 3 weeks later, I probably got a 3 pound, probably 3 or 4 3 pound squash.
Right.
It came right out of my backyard. Right. Tomatoes, bell peppers. I got a watermelon growing back there, but I'm saying that to say, we know if somebody says, hey, if you plant a seed, it'll grow. So I always use that as a metaphor. Like, if you just plant that one seed, when you was asking earlier, like, how much do I need to spend? Like, no, you need to plant a seed. And when you plant that one seed, like, I'm going to save $25 a paycheck. It's going to turn into 50. It's going to turn into 100. It's going to turn into, but you got to plant that one seed. And then you're going to have, it'd be like my neighbor, he laughing at me because I didn't know all about the spacing and I didn't know about rows. I just put seeds in a box and put some, so it's stuff growing everywhere, but guess what? It's growing. It's a harvest.
Right.
So I'm saying that to say, I tell people, man, get your mind right, get a tangible goal, and figure out how you need to get your credit where it needs to be, which is 700 above. You do those 3 things, and then you're going to have little branches come off of those 3 things. Like, oh, now I got reserves. Like, so if something go down and the pandemic hit and I'm out of work for a month, I'm good for a month.
I'm good
for a month. I ain't running around acting crazy. And then you got to have something to teach your kids about and to pass on to your kids. Because that's like you talked about earlier with your father. A lot of parents, they give their kids lip service, do this, do that, do this. But then they watching you, they're like, bro, you struggling. Like, I see you, Ryan, you stressed out, you looking crazy. Meanwhile, when you telling them, you know, do this, do that, and they like, it's the wrong, it's misalignment, you know. So you gotta start there. It has nothing to do with money being more important, because in my life, God is always gonna be one, no matter what. God is one. But after that, we got to be some go-getters.
That's right.
We got to be go-getters and not being hyper consumers, because every time you spending money, you giving that to somebody else. They eating off of us. So I'm like, nah, we got to change that.
So tell them again where they can find you on tomorrow night.
Oh,
that's tomorrow. No,
tomorrow night. Oh, it's going down right here, Facebook Live. I got to check out this stream. I'm gonna check the stream yard out. But tomorrow night, Facebook Live, the Daily Bread Radio Show, episode 162. Tomorrow night, we're gonna be talking about financial literacy. Again, we've done it 161 weeks. And if you haven't figured that out yet, it's only 52 weeks in a year. So we've done it 3 years worth of shows. And I guarantee you one thing, if you tune in, you're going to have something that you can learn, that you can implement tomorrow night. And our motto, just like Adrienne said earlier, educate, motivate, elevate. That's it. So tomorrow night, Facebook Live, the Daily Bread Radio Show. Make sure you go out to JoaquinThompsonSr.com. Join our VIP mail list. We got some new merchandise coming. It's right back here in this box. I haven't unveiled it yet. But, you know, so that way you can stay in tune, because you need to get around like-minded people. Absolutely. That can teach you something about something that may not be your thing. You might be a great cook, but you don't know about money. You might be a great engineer. I'm running everybody. Doctors, lawyers, ministers. I run all kinds of people. And guess what? They all have a common bond, because they don't understand financial literacy.
And because you got to stay in your lane, you can't be in every lane that there is.
Oh, so you can't be in every lane. Oh no.
I appreciate you so much for being my.
I love it. I love it.
And because let me tell you something. This is a movement. This is not a moment. And so if we don't elevate everybody and bring, you know, everybody along, then we are leaving somebody behind. And so we're going to do what we can. We know we can't save everybody, but what we can do is we put the information out there, and those that want to come along are going to come along. So I appreciate you so much.
Hey, much success to your show. Continued success. I love your platform. I love what you're doing. And hey, let's just keep it going.
We're going to keep it going. And I got some guests lined up that's going to come, and they're going to be talking about, you know, this whole process on Wednesdays for me is about education. And so everybody that I'm bringing to the table is not just about what they're selling. It's about how they are educating us to be better. So I got people that's going to be coming and talking about, you know, how they've become publicly traded companies on the New York Stock Exchange, because we're not playing with it. And what, you know, if you know that, you know, $1 trillion of economics belongs to Black people, imagine if we all spent that with each other. We would be some rich so-and-sos. So we just, as you said, got to get our mind right. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, brother.
Oh, no doubt, Adrienne. Keep doing your thing. Much love to you. Much love.
All right. Y'all come on back next week. Y'all make sure that you check out Joaquin tomorrow as he does his thing on the Daily Bread. So love
no doubt. All right, baby.
All right. Bye.
There's another day.